So I've been doing this obscure series of videos for a few years now, covering a multitude of interesting, lesser-known games. Whether that's interesting in a good or bad way definitely varies. And while these obscure videos usually tackle games within a specific genre or label, like licensed games, you may recall that the very first obscure video I did was on games on a specific console, namely, the PlayStation 1. The PS1 was a very nostalgic console for me, and growing up with a lot more out-there titles on the system was what inspired me to do that video in the first place. Well, I want to go back to those roots, and since those roots were tied to one console that defined my childhood gaming experiences, why not do the same with another? Enter the Nintendo GameCube, a console I got one fine Christmas day in 2004, and one of my personal favorite consoles, in my top 3 at the very least. And the games I had access to on the system played a big part of that. Lots of fun stuff was available on the GameCube, both in Nintendo's first-party endeavors and the third-party offerings. Now compared to the PS1, I have played a fair bit more of the GameCube's more popular titles, but my library still has quite a few obscurer games, some of which I'll be sharing with you all today. Though, as a quick disclaimer before someone points it out, not all these games are GameCube exclusives. Some of these you can get on other consoles. These are all games I personally experienced via the GameCube though, so there you go. Anyway, without further ado, so to start things off, we're going to take a look at some of the GameCube's obscure first-party titles. Something I really liked about the GameCube era is that Nintendo got really experimental with their IPs. They had already nailed the jump to 3D with the N64, so they used the GameCube era to mess around with their franchises in different ways, to varying degrees of success. And the many Mario games on the system were a prime example of that. Whether it be the mainline series with Mario Sunshine, or the Mario Kart series with Double Dash, or the sports titles with stuff like Power Tennis, Superstar Baseball, and especially Strikers. The GameCube era was one full of wacky ideas and immense charm for our favorite plumber and his friends. Case in point, remember the time Mario saved the world by dancing? If not, then allow me to introduce you to Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix. See, back in the 2000s, when Dance Dance Revolution was first taking the arcade world by storm, several DDR games were developed for consoles, some of which being themed off other franchises. And sure enough, in 2005, one with Mario was released for that year's holiday season, and was quickly discontinued only a couple months later. From what I could find, it was supposedly due to production issues with the dance mat that came with the game, but yeah, it got discontinued so quickly that DDR Mario Mix became a pretty rare GameCube title in no time flat. Though it's not too hard to find at a reasonable price online nowadays. Well, the game on its own at least. The dance mat still goes for pretty high prices. My sisters and I were lucky enough to have gotten this for Christmas during that initial holiday season, Dance Mat at all, and I've got a lot of fond memories playing this with them over the years. Though both of them were significantly better at it than I was, especially on the Dance Mat. Which on that note, I unfortunately don't have the mat anymore, one of my sisters ended up keeping it, so I used a standard controller for my footage recording playthrough. I know, not as authentic of a DDR experience, but I preferred using the controller on this game as a kid anyway. Besides, there's still plenty to know with this game beyond that, like the utterly bonkers story. For one, Waluigi of all characters is the game's main villain initially, stealing these orbs known as the Music Keys, which hold the power of music and, according to Toad, will throw the world into destructive chaos if they're not restored. So Mario, or Luigi if you choose to play as him instead, sets off with Toad to find the Music Keys, coming across a multitude of obstacles along the way that are all solved through the magic power of dance. Yep, this is one of those kind of spin-off games where the entire universe has been rewritten to have the main gameplay be the core of everyone's way of life. Want to get out of a deep cavern you've fallen into? Just gotta dance your way out. Accidentally turned a hotel into a corkscrew building? For one, you made it way more interesting than it was before, but just dance to magically fix it. Need to get into an amusement park? Gotta have a dance-off with the security guards first. Want to get your hands on a boat upgrade that a shopkeeper's got on display even though he's not selling it? Actually, they sort that one out with a fishing competition, which breaks out into a dance-off partway through. The funniest part of that last plot beat in particular is that Mario, or Luigi, and Toad take the boat upgrade to get their boat past an unnaturally large whirlpool. only for Toad to then conclude that someone used a music key to make the whirlpool and telling Mario, or Luigi, to go into the whirlpool to find the music key, meaning they took the shopkeeper's possession for literally no reason. Toad actually makes a lot of questionable decisions like that throughout the story, the most hilarious of which being in the ice world. He and Mario, or Luigi, find the last music key lodged in the head of a giant Freezy, and Toad tries to ask for the key from the Freezy. The Freezy doesn't respond, so Toad's just like, "He gave me the cold shoulder! Rude! Mario, or Luigi, kill him!" I'm not even exaggerating, he literally tells Mario, or Luigi, to melt the Freezy with his dance moves, and that quite literally ends up happening. The Freezy's dead by the end of the level. I should have known we couldn't trust that mushroom-headed monster. The game's story is utterly ridiculous, but I kinda love it for that. It's like I said earlier, this era for Mario was full of wacky ideas and immense charm, and you definitely feel it here in this pretty silly storyline. Like, at the end of the game, Bowser steals the music keys you've collected, so you go after him and fight him in a dance-off, and after he's defeated, he reveals his ultimate plan with the music keys was to fix his tone deafness. Never change, Bowser. Now, as for the gameplay side of things, it's about what you'd expect for a Dance Dance Revolution game, hitting the arrows on beat as they appear. But to add some extra Mario flair, many of the levels have a feature called Mush Mode, which will incorporate gimmicks amongst the arrows. These can include Koopa Troopa shells you have to hit twice to get rid of, Spinies you want to avoid hitting, Cheep Cheeps that'll change the direction of an arrow as it approaches, or in the case of some of the boss challenges in the story mode, projectiles you pass back and forth between your opponents like you're playing hot potato. That said, I feel like this gimmick's kinda hit or miss, especially since these obstacles often blend into the already busy background animations, making them easy to miss. Though those background animations are also one of the most entertaining aspects of the game. DDR Mario Mix uses the same engine as the Mario Party games, and thus uses a lot of the same assets. And it's honestly kinda hilarious seeing the kind of dances they have the characters do with the limitations of those models. I call this dance move the Wiimote and Nunchuck. And that leads us into the game's song selection, which is really bizarre. The game's OST consists of remixes of Mario music, and with some pretty wide representation too. There's music from Double Dash, the North American Mario 2, Thousand Year Door, Wrecking Crew, Dr. Mario, even the Famicom Disk System startup tune gets a remix, but also remixes of public domain classical music, from Mozart songs to songs from the opera Carmen, to the song you probably heard at your high school graduation. I'm not joking, Mario, Boogie's to a remix of Pomp and Circumstance. Though honestly, as out there and ridiculous as the song choices get, the soundtrack overall kinda slaps. Like, just to give an example, that fishing competition I mentioned earlier, this is the song that plays during it. And the soundtrack's full of great tunes like this, even if some of them do get a bit strange. By far the strangest though? The level right before you take on Bowser. You're flying through his fiery territory, getting bombarded by bullet bills, and the tune that's playing is this. It's a good tune, don't get me wrong, it just wouldn't be my first pick for the scenario is all. There's also some minigames you unlock throughout the story mode, but many of them kinda just feel like rejected Mario Party minigames. The best one though is this one, specifically if you end up failing.
Are you ready?
But yeah, to be honest, Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix as a game is pretty average. You're bound to get better DDR experiences elsewhere, and far harder experiences too. This one's on the easier side for a DDR game. But it's got a lot of goofy charm, and there's definitely some fun to be had. And because of the easier difficulty, it's not a bad way to introduce a younger player to DDR. I still enjoy this game a fair bit, and I have listened to the OST outside of the game on many occasions. Though this does transition us nicely into the next game I want to talk about. One of the boss challenges in Mario Mix's story mode is against Wario, and his boss theme is a remix of a tune from Wario World. And Wario World's a fairly obscure GameCube game itself, so... Thank you, Wario. So we've got a bit of an interesting title here. For one, this is the Wario series' first and so far only full jump into the third dimension, but on top of that, it was developed by Treasure, a cult classic dev studio known for their immense creativity. This studio loves thinking outside the box with their games and ideas, and have gone on record saying that their main philosophy as developers is to make the games they want to make, rather than worrying about what'll be most commercially successful. I have a lot of respect for that. But yeah, given all that, Treasure does sound like a fitting studio to develop something like a Wario game. And I guess Nintendo thought the same thing, resulting in Wario World becoming a thing and releasing in 2003. Now, while I didn't get it at launch, I didn't even have my GameCube yet at that point, I did end up getting this while GameCube games were still being actively sold. And while I played it a fair bit, I haven't touched it in years, so this should make for an interesting revisit. The game's story is pretty straightforward. There's this evil sentient black jewel that did evil things until it was caught and sealed away, only for Wario to eventually find it and add it to his collection of treasures, not knowing what it actually was. Now free, the black jewel decides to transform Wario's various treasures into monsters and his castle into a whole different world. Understandably, Wario ain't too happy about all that, so now it's up to him to traverse this new world, beat up monsters, gather up his treasures, and give the black jewel a piece of his mind. And the journey to do so is quite the fun one. Wario World is a 3D platformer, with a hint of both puzzle solving and light beat-em-up combat. The goal of each level is to get to the end and fight the boss awaiting you there, but to open that end gate, you first need to get enough red crystals from these puzzle rooms, which can range from platform challenges, logic puzzles, or experimenting with the game's physics in some cases. These are pretty fun little challenges, if a bit trial and error for some of them, especially for these special rooms. Be ready to hear this a fair bit in your playthrough. Along the way though, you'll be running, jumping, dashing, and climbing about various environments. In these environments, you'll find pieces of golden Wario statues, collecting all of which in the level will give you a health upgrade, color-coded switches to unveil treasures on platforms of the same color, collecting all of a level's treasures will unlock minigames from the first ever WarioWare game, trap spritlings for you to rescue, they'll give you hints when you save them, and the number of them you've saved by the end will determine which ending you end up getting, and many, many monsters to beat up. The combat in Wario World is quite simple, with Wario having a basic 3-hit punch, as well as his dash, a roll jump out of the dash, and a ground pound, which will take out the little enemies pretty swiftly. But where the fun of the combat comes from is when fighting the big enemies, because hitting them enough times will instead leave them dazed, allowing you to pick them up. From there, you've got a few different ways to deal with them. You can yeet them, pile drive them, or my personal favorite, spin them around. I lost count of how many times I'd pick up an enemy and just become a Beyblade and rip through all the other enemies present. It's a ton of fun. It's especially fun in these timed arena challenges, where you have to wipe out as many enemies as you can within the time for larger coin bonuses. It's really satisfying. But the cool thing is that these ways of dealing with larger enemies aren't exclusively just for combat. They're used for getting through the levels too. See something in the distance you can't hit yourself? Throw an enemy at it. Come across a contraption that needs to be turned to activate? Grab an enemy and spin him to do so. Need to open a steel trapdoor to access a puzzle room? Pile drive your way in. Heck, there's several enemies throughout the game that you can use as makeshift platforms if you get rid of them the right way. And that's all before mentioning the game's various bosses. Each level ends with one, on top of each world ending with a big boss. And while you start off with pretty basic beginnings, these bosses get weird and creative and weird. And even these often become puzzles of their own, as not every boss is beaten solely through brute force, especially apparent with the world end bosses. There's a lot of really neat ideas present in the bosses, and the execution on a majority of them is solid. Though oddly enough, despite all this, the final battle against the Black Jewel is really boring. You just free the spritlings from crystals to weaken the Black Jewel while it shoots out lines of fire onto the arena, and then releasing easy to avoid projectile attacks if it traps you in 2 lines of fire. Free all the spritlings, Black Jewel gets stunned, pick it up and do a thing, it loses a piece of health. Do this 8 times with no change to the formula. Interestingly though, this isn't the case in the Japanese version of the game, which was released a year after. With that extra dev time, Treasure was able to amp up the battle, with the Black Jewel completely switching up its attack pattern once at half health to a far more aggressive aggressive approach. Suddenly, this really tedious and underwhelming final boss seems a lot cooler. Though of course, I can't talk about Wario World without talking about the game's audio work. The game's soundtrack is full of some pretty catchy tunes, but the highlight of the game's audio element is Wario himself. You can absolutely tell that Charles Martinet was having a blast recording Wario's voice lines for this. And I can't neglect to mention the infamous pause menu theme where Wario provides the vocals. But yeah, overall, Wario World holds up quite well. It is on the shorter side, only having 8 levels in total, but it's a fun time all throughout for the most part. That said, whoever decided to add one of the golden statue pieces on an ice slide right at the end of the level that you can't climb back up, thus requiring you to go through the whole level again just to get another chance to pick it up, I want to have a little chat. I legit looped through the ice level 5 times to get this last item. I want to have a chat! Though I think that's enough of the first-party stuff for now. So how's about we take a look at some of the third-party endeavors on the system? And to start that off, we're going to take a look at a more recent addition to my GameCube collection. A little game known as Vexx. I hadn't actually heard of this until only a few years ago, after hearing other YouTubers talk about it. And while it didn't look necessarily amazing, it did leave me intrigued. So when the opportunity came to get it alongside some other GameCube games for a really cheap price, I went for it. Created by Acclaim Studios Austin, formerly known as Iguana Entertainment, Vexx began development back in 1999, and between then and its eventual 2003 release, it went through a bunch of changes to the concept and characters, and ultimately had a ton of planned content cut from the final release due to time and budget constraints. Certainly no stranger for games that have been covered on this channel. I haven't delved too deep into the development history of Vexx at this point, but even just digging at the surface, it's really clear that the plans for this game were certainly ambitious, with much of that falling through due to the aforementioned time and budget constraints. Didn't help that this was one of the studio's final games. Acclaim as a whole filed for bankruptcy in 2004, only a year after Vexx released. I've always found these kind of development stories fascinating, seeing what was initially planned for a title that's seemingly just kind of there. This was actually especially common with games in this era, wanting to be far grander than they actually ended up being, usually due to time and budget constraints. But as much as we can think on what Vexx could have been, we should probably give a look at what we did end up getting. So the game begins with a cutscene with really poor audio balancing and a lack of subtitles. Not a great start. But from what I could gather from later lore documents and rewatching the opening cutscene in post, there's this planet called Astara, whose people develop. So before we begin, I wanted to address a couple things. First off, apologies that it admittedly went through a bit of a creative rut after the Games of 2022 video, and no idea was really sticking up until now. So I ended up taking an unofficial break of sorts. Hopefully the gap between this video and my next one won't be quite as big, but I won't make any promises. Though secondly, continuing off what I noted at the end of my Games of 2022 video, this here is the 50th episode of my main video series that I started back when I rebranded in 2017. It's kinda wild that this rebranding of mine has gotten this far, and I gotta say, I am a lot happier with where my channel's at nowadays, with the kind of videos I make, and especially the kind of people it brings around. Seriously, thank you all for being so supportive and wonderful over these past few years. It's especially made doing these videos worth it. With that said, with this being the 50th episode, I did want to do something special for the occasion, and I could have done something more milestone-y for the topic, but instead, I felt it'd be fun to tackle a topic I've thought about doing for quite some time. You know I love me some obscure video games, and I've covered many a licensed game on here before, so what do you say we unite the topics together into one? And believe me when I say, there is no shortage of material for this video. Licensed games used to have an iron grip on the gaming industry, and especially in the 2000s, just about any piece of licensed material could get a tie-in game. A Lemmings-style GBA game based on a nature documentary? Sure, why not? A pocket bike racing game based on a fast food brand? Sure, why not? And yeah, some licensed games have gone above and beyond and left a notable mark on the gaming landscape, but with the abundance of licensed games, many have fallen out of the limelight, if they were even there to begin with. And those are the kind of licensed games that I want to look at today. There's plenty of material all throughout the decades, but I'm primarily going to be focusing on the 2000s and onwards, as those are the gaming eras that I'm more familiar with licensed game-wise. With that said, let's get this ball rolling. To start things off, we're jumping into the world of Disney tie-in games. Though instead of looking at one based on a specific IP of theirs, why not cover multiple at once? What we have here is Disney's Think Fast, a Disney-themed trivia game that came out on the Wii and PS2 back in 2008. This is one I actually had back in the day, and I remember playing this a fair bit with my sisters. We all grew up off the Disney animated film lineup, so we were basically the main target audience for this game. Question is, does it hold up? It's half and half. The game takes the structure of a TV game show, with the genie from Aladdin serving as the show host. This was the first time that Genie's current voice actor, Jim Meskimen, played the character. And while he's certainly trying, this isn't really Genie's A material, to say the least. Then again, one of my sisters and I still quote his "game is afoot" bit every now and then, so maybe it did click with younger us.
So, Detective, the game is afoot. Or a hand, or something like that.
Oddly enough, though, he does have a handful of genuinely funny jokes in the credits.
Unbelievable show, team. I don't think a single member of the audience even noticed the studio was on fire the whole time. Oh, my feet are killing me. What? Why don't I just use magic and float around? Wise guy. The credits are still rolling? You're sure everyone worked on the show? Because I'll know if you put your nephew's name back in there.
Also, Genie casually threatens murder by drowning at one point.
Genie, all the water! How are we going to breathe?
Worry not, with my phenomenal cosmic powers! I'll make sure you breathe normally for the duration of the show, as long as you make sure you laugh at my jokes, okay?
As for the rest of the game's cast, you play as one of the many characters of the Mickey Mouse universe. You've got your standard choices like Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Pete, etc., but you've also got some more out-there characters they don't use nearly as often, like Clarabelle Cow, Magica De Spell from DuckTales, Horace Horsecollar? That's a character they almost never use anymore. But yeah, the game has you going through multiple rounds of multiple choice trivia, often with some kind of gimmick to the round. Watching a movie clip from one of Disney's movies and then answering a bunch of questions relating to it, guessing a character based on clues in a gradually forming character sketch, movie-specific questions relating to whatever themed area you've chosen, stuff like that. It's a pretty standard trivia game, but I will give credit for just how vast the questions get source material-wise. It doesn't stick to just the most well-known stuff. They're gonna ask you questions about basically every one of the main animated lineup. Like, there are multiple questions relating to both Atlantis and Treasure Planet in this game. You'll love to see it. That said, the game is clearly made for children, and as such, a lot of the questions are pretty simple ones. So barring a handful of trickier questions that popped up, I did admittedly start to get kinda bored partway through. Even with the minigame in the middle to try and spice things up, it's the same spot the difference minigame every time. So even that doesn't help much in keeping things from feeling repetitive. I do remember this being more fun in multiplayer, but I didn't do any multiplayer for this playthrough, so rip me. The weirdest part of this game to me, though, is the second round, 50-50. It's multiple choice questions with only two options, simple enough premise, but literally none of the questions have anything to do with Disney. Instead, it asks stuff like, which is hotter, the ocean or lava? Also, I don't know who is in charge of choosing the character stills for the answers, but some of these stills aren't very flattering. Like, very not flattering. But yeah, Disney's Think Fast is okay. There's some fun to be had in the right circumstances, but as a solo experience, I personally wouldn't recommend it, especially for older players. Though if you want to test your noggin in a way that's not related to Disney trivia, how's about some I Spy? Don't know who here remembers these, but back in the 90s and 2000s, there was this wide craze of puzzle books under the name of, well, I Spy. The formula of these books was simple. Every set of pages would have a picture of objects all cluttered together, with a riddle about what you had to find within the picture. It was a simple format, but hey, given just how many I Spy books ended up being made, it clearly found itself a lot of success. And eventually, this success carried over into video games, because my goodness, there's apparently a lot of I Spy tie-in games. I myself grew up with one on Game Boy Advance, known as I Spy Challenger, which is the one I'll be looking at now. Yes, this is really where we're taking this video. Though honestly, despite it sounding like this could easily be the cheapest of cheap cash-ins, I Spy Challenger has a bit more meat on its bones. It does have the standard I Spy formula accounted for, with each collage picture having 3 separate sets of riddles to clear, so it gets a lot out of each picture. But interestingly, that's just 1 out of 4 different game modes. In fact, it's actually the 3rd game mode option, weirdly enough. The first game mode, Match Attack, is a matching object puzzle game, where you shoot items at whatever they match with on the other side of the screen and clear the board before time runs out. The first level keeps it simple. Plane goes with plane, watermelon goes with watermelon, but what matches with what in later levels isn't that straightforward. For example, level 2, you shoot shoes at socks and baseball bats at baseballs, while level 3, the connection is words that rhyme. You shoot cars at stars and bees at keys. And it continues on with those kind of patterns. So in other words, this matching object puzzle game is also partially a brain teaser. And even in the matching object part, there's an element of strategy from having multiple of the corresponding item in a row when you clear them, earning you extra points and a free pre-match. I'm talking way more in depth about this one game mode in an I Spy GBA game than I thought I would, but it's actually pretty fun. The second game mode, Grid Grab, gives you a square of objects, with a line of objects in a specific order up at the top. Your goal is to highlight that line of objects in the square, which can include diagonally. Clear all the lines you're given before the time runs out, and you win. And it's simple enough when it's a 3x3 square, but later levels have you finding lines of 3 in 4x4 squares, so it doesn't take long for this mode to become a surprisingly challenging, well, challenge. Also, actually, the game's got some surprisingly good music all around, but Grid Grab's music especially kinda slaps? And our final mode is Hoop Drop, where you place corresponding objects in hoops, with some hoops having a Venn diagram-esque overlap for objects that have connections to both categories. For example, in one level, one of the hoops contains food items, while one contains circular objects. In the overlap, you place circular food like oranges and cookies. This one's actually pretty fun too, especially since you're able to control the speed of the screen scroll, allowing you to rapid drop items once you've gotten good enough at it. Why yes, I am talking about getting skillful at I Spy minigames, what of it? But yeah, I Spy Challenger holds up pretty well, all things considered, which is really weird to say out loud. Not a game I necessarily say you need to go out of your way to find, but like, if you can find it at a decent price and enjoy doing these simple kind of brain teasers, it's not a bad outlet to scratch that itch. I know that may sound a bit ridiculous, but I'm just speaking the truth. I had a pretty fun time with this. With that said, I feel it's time to dive into a specific subset of licensed games now, licensed 3D platformers. It was incredibly common to see 3D platformer tie-in games in the 2000s, especially for stuff like animated movies and shows. In fact, it was such a widespread trend at the time that even otherwise dormant IPs were getting these kind of tie-in games. Case in point, Animaniacs: The Great Edgar Hunt, a 3D platformer released on GameCube in 2005 with Europe-exclusive ports to PS2 and Xbox. This was the first Animaniacs-related project released after the series wrapped up in 1999, and after it and another tie-in game on DS, the IP wouldn't be officially used again until the series revival a couple years ago. This trend was certainly something, that's for sure. I played this game a couple times at my uncle's place when I was younger. Said uncle was also who first introduced me to Animaniacs as a whole, and I remember it being alright. But this is also my first time playing it since those days, so time to see if that opinion holds up. The game's premise centers around the upcoming Edgar ceremony, a clear spoof of the Oscars. But on the night prior to the event, all the Edgar trophies are stolen by C.C. DeVille, a bitter film director who uses the stolen Edgars as ransom to get a 10-film contract deal with unlimited budgets from Warner Brothers. Though little does DeVille know that all of his film projects will end up being cancelled during post-production. Sorry, the studio being Warner Brothers made it hard to resist making that joke. In any case, thanks to a goof-up from his henchmen, DeVille's blimp crashes into the studio water tower, scattering the stolen Edgars across the studio lot and allowing Yakko, Wakko, and Dot to get out of the water tower. From there, it's up to the Warner siblings to journey across the studio's various themed sound stages, collect the missing Edgars, and finally defeat DeVille before the Edgar ceremony. It's a simple enough premise that definitely fits the Animaniacs world quite well, and the writing overall does go for a similar sense of humor that the original show did. It captures that Animaniacs charm pretty well for the most part, helped by the fact that the show's original voice cast reprised their roles here, and it does have a fair few genuinely funny jokes throughout.
You write scripts on people's heads?
That must be uncomfortable for them.
What kind of pen do you use?
No, I don't write scripts on people's heads. Head scriptwriter means I'm in charge of all the other scriptwriters, that's all.
Oh, so they write on people's heads.
You do know how to climb, don't you?
Over the backs of all my friends to get to the top? Sure.
Okay, Sonny. Then go climb the face of that rock there.
Okay, I think this is where they bring in my stunt double, right?
I have just finished the construction of my new invention, the time bomb. Unlike ordinary bombs, this device does not contain any explosives. That would be dangerous.
You probably got a golden Edgar locked in there as well, haven't you? Not that this game is getting predictable or anything.
To be sure I have. You're the smart one, aren't you?
And I'm the cute one.
And I'm the psychologically unhinged one. Ah, that'll be the instruction manual for the chariot. What does it say?
Press the jump button to accelerate. Use the movement stick to steer. Press the action button for a speed boost.
Well, like most things you say, that makes absolutely no sense to me. Read it again.
As for the gameplay, Great Edgar Hunt goes the Collectathon route, with the Edgar trophies being your Power Star equivalent. You'll get them from stuff like completing quests you're given by NPCs in each soundstage, defeating bosses, finding Chicken Boo, who's disguised as an enemy in each level and can be tracked with a magnifying glass you get later in the game.
That's not a psychotic chainsaw-wielding maniac.
It's a chicken!
And collecting enough of each soundstage is equivalent to coins, though every level has 2 Edgars dedicated to this task, one to collecting 125 of them, and then another to collecting all 300. And as far as I'm aware, this game doesn't have a means to track the ones that are remaining, so that latter task is a pain in the neck to say the least. You start off the game with just Yakko, but you'll find and rescue Dot and Wacko in the first 2 levels, allowing you to play as them as well. For the most part, the trio do play the same, but each of them have their own exclusive ability that you unlock partway through the game. Yakko gets bombs, Dot gets the ability to limbo underneath small crevices, and Wacko gets a shovel for digging up designated spots. Because of these abilities, you'll find yourself switching between the Warner siblings a fair amount throughout the game, and this is one of those multi-character platformers where character switching is done at a specific spot, rather than being able to do so whenever. Fortunately, it's actually one of the better executed takes of this trope. Character switching doors are very common, with one more often than not being present in areas where you need a specific character, so tedious backtracking is far less frequent than in other games that utilize this. It's not gone altogether, granted, and the times you do have to backtrack are irritating, but again, they're not nearly as common. I still would have preferred on-the-spot character switching, but all things considered, it's not badly handled here. It's also helped by, surprise, the presence of fast travel. Key areas in a level will often have a warp door, allowing you to quickly make your way through these otherwise pretty big levels. I think this was a good call. Especially so since, with the unlockable character abilities and additional abilities shared across all 3 siblings, you're going to find yourself coming back to previous levels a fair amount, and many of them are not small levels. The levels themselves follow pretty familiar platformer archetypes, but they've got enough charm to them that they generally feel fun to explore and platform and complete tasks in. Now granted, this game does have some of that jank you'd probably expect from a smaller budget licensed platformer of this era. Wonky hitboxes, awkward swimming controls, uncooperative AI, and the occasional soft locking glitch, such as swimming out of bounds with no way to get back in. But all in all, Great Edgar Hunt actually holds up relatively well. Sure, it doesn't do anything super stand out from other platformers, but if you're wanting to play some more 3D platformers from this era, especially if you're an Animaniacs fan, this one's not a bad option. I even went out of my way to 100% this game, a process I mostly enjoyed. Like I said, those 300 collectible missions were a pain in the neck. So since we're already in very familiar genre territory for this channel, how's about we migrate to the other genre this channel is known for our next game? That's right, it's kart racer time! The kart racer was another pretty popular genre for licensed games, especially for stuff like animated shows and whatnot. And we have seen a bit of a resurgence of licensed kart racers lately, with the likes of stuff like Garfield Kart, Paw Patrol Grand Prix, Smurfs Kart, and Race with Ryan, the last of which I previously covered in Obscure Kart Racers 2, and it surprisingly wasn't that bad. But what I've got next is a special case. It's not based on a comic character, or an animated property, or even on a YouTube channel. No. This one's based on emojis. I wish I were making this up, but yes, there is a kart racer based on emojis. And this isn't an older recent game either. This came out on Switch a month ago. But don't worry, non-Switch players, you're not excluded. It's on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series consoles. No PC port though. Sorry PC players, you'll have to miss out on this. And before anyone asks why I willingly bought this, I had extra eShop credit on hand while I was deciding on games for this video, and I felt I needed at least one especially cursed game. And believe me, Emoji Kart Racer definitely fits that role. So let's not waste any time, let's select our emoji, our hat, our car, and our car color, and get into this. And you know what? By default, we're given a sunglasses emoji and a cowboy hat, so I guess it's time for Rad Jebediah to make his grand return. The funny I referenced the original Obscure Kart Racers video there, because playing this game reminded me of another game from that video. M&M's Kart Racing. The steering in Emoji Kart Racer often feels just as sensitive and not sensitive at the same time as it did in M&M's Kart Racing. But, and I can't believe I'm saying this, M&M's Kart Racing at least had the excuse of being a motion-controlled game. You hear that, Emoji Kart Racer? You're making me give credit to M&M's Kart Racing. But yeah, the handling of this game is really bad, even when trying to use the handbrake. And the only other thing of note with the controls is that the game has a dedicated respawn button, which you'll absolutely need in this because this game's got some really janky physics at points. Like, hilariously janky. And speaking of hilariously janky, the AI. Seriously, the AI often struggle trying to get through this game itself. But to clarify, I wouldn't say it's hilarious enough to warrant trying this game for yourself, because when the physics in the AI aren't being laughably broken, you're left with a super dull kart racer, with some generally lifeless gameplay and really forgettable track design. No son, we have Rainbow Road at home. Rainbow Road at Home. And some of these tracks get needlessly long too. One of them legit took a total of 8 minutes to complete. The power-ups don't fare much better, mostly just checking off the kart racer power-up boxes and calling it a day. The one power-up stands up amongst the rest, and not in a good way. After all, what emoji-related project would be complete without the poop emoji? It's a necessity. Haven't mentioned yet that this game costs 33 Canadian dollars on the eShop and 40 Canadian on the PlayStation Store. And also, going back to that M&M's kart racing comparison, it may not have the legendary approaching sound barrier, but that's okay. This game's got its own standout audio-based features. The game's already ridiculously loud as is by default compared to the Switch menu, but whenever you finish a race, your ears get attacked by stuff like this. Haven't felt this deaf from playing a game since Shrek Treasure Hunt. Sure, the game's got a decent number of tracks for a shovelware kart racer, and once you complete all the cups, you've got a fair number of options to pick from for your racer. But ultimately, Emoji Kart Racer ain't worth it. Shocker, I know. It hasn't quite dethroned Billy the Wizard as the worst racing game I've ever played, but it's definitely a contender for worst kart racer I've ever played. And because I never bothered seeing the Emoji Movie, I can also say this is the worst emoji-centric property I've experienced. I know, what a great achievement. Actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna need a palate cleanser. Where's that bit where I mentioned a bunch of recent licensed kart racers? And we have seen a bit of a resurgence of licensed kart racers lately, with the likes of stuff like Garfield Kart, Paw Patrol Grand Prix, Smurfs Kart. There, we'll go with that one. So here we have, well, Smurfs Kart, a Switch-exclusive kart racer that came out in November of last year. Can't say I entirely know why we got a Smurfs tie-in game now of all times, but I also don't keep up with Smurfs-related media, so maybe there's some new show or something that I'm completely unaware of. Either way, I picked this game up on a whim at a game store a couple months ago out of morbid curiosity. And having not heard a single thing about it since its initial trailer dropped on Nintendo's YouTube channel, I have zero idea how good or bad it's gonna be. But after Emoji Kart Racer, even just mediocre will feel like a breath of fresh air. Well, that was a pleasant surprise. So being up front, Smurfs Kart doesn't do anything super standout for the genre. In fact, in several areas, it almost feels like the developers hyper-analyzed Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and then recreate it with Smurfs assets and a smaller budget. Seriously, it's got the exact same drifting system, the exact same trick system, the ability to hold 2 items at once. No anti-gravity though, that's beyond Smurfs technology, I guess. It does do a couple things its own way, such as a different style of starting line boost that I do like, and I just remembered that it's one that My Sims Racing uses as well. And each character's got a unique power-up of their own, a la Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, but it's very clear which kart racer Smurfs Kart was most inspired by. Having said all that, it does do what it does pretty well for the most part. The driving controls are solid, there's a good sense of speed and flow even on the slower speed level, and while its track lineup is pretty small, and track theming variety is minimal, the track design itself is overall pretty solid too, though some of the later tracks I didn't feel were quite as strong. The only major issue I have with the game is the item RNG, which often gets painfully brutal. Like, you know that one Mario Kart Wii video where the player drops from 1st to 12th in a matter of seconds almost entirely out of their own control? That basically happened to me in Smurfs Kart. I will also say that I think the game's asking price is a bit much. It's $50 here in Canada, and not only does it not have a lot of tracks, Emoji Kart Racer actually had more than it, but it only sticks with the bare minimum game mode-wise. So you can experience everything the game has to offer in only a couple hours. For that amount, I'd sooner recommend something like CTR Nitro Fueled or Team Sonic Racing. Heck, the latter's actually $10 cheaper on Switch here in Canada. But if you are wanting another kart racer on your Switch and are willing to pay that amount, Smurfs Kart is a pretty alright option. Again, nothing groundbreaking, but it's a generally fun time all in all. And that now brings us to our last game of the video. And if you thought a kart racer themed around emojis was weird, you ain't seen nothing yet, because I've saved the strangest of the bunch for last. To finish this video up, we're going to be taking a look at Darkened Sky, a fantasy action-adventure game that came out on PC and GameCube back in 2002. I suspect some of you already know where this is going, but for those who don't, I'll give you the rundown. This game is not based on a movie, or a show, or a comic book, or any kind of book for that matter. In fact, its world and story are wholly original works, focusing on a shepherd girl named Sky as she becomes the target of the tyrannical Lord Nekroth after coming across a lost magic artifact, one of many that Nekroth had gathered up to try and keep magic out of the hands of the people so they couldn't rise against him. So it seems like pretty straightforward fantasy adventure stuff, but that then begs the question, what makes this a licensed game? Well, I haven't said what the magic artifact is yet, and I think I'll let the game explain it for me.
That, my strange young sapling, is a Skittles.
Yes, you heard that right. This is a tie-in game for Skittles candy. Skittles are the source of magic in Dark and Sky's world, and the game's lore talks a ton about rainbows being these mystical occurrences that Necroth's prevented so Skittles don't rain down and provide magic for the people. Seriously, I'm not making any of this up.
Rainbows were real. And when they appeared, so did the Skittles, raining forth like colored hail. The people knew magic then, and 'twas Skittles what fueled that magic.
Stand down.
But then, Necroth did the unthinkable. He forged the dark prism and channeled the rainbow to his own foul realm, so that all the Skittles would be his. He rounded up every last remaining Skittles from the people and outlawed magic forever.
And yes, throughout the game, you collect different colored Skittles, and you use them to form magic spells in gameplay. This is a real video game. And the weirdest thing is that, beyond the use of Skittles and the whole rainbow element, it's otherwise a pretty standard fantasy game. One that focuses a lot more on comedy in its writing, granted, though admittedly, from what I played of it, pretty much all the attempts at comedy kinda fell flat.
What do you call that?
I'm going with red-breasted northern butt smiler. Because that's just me.
Yeah, I think I'll wander into that pitch-black cave alone. I want to show up in the credits as a dead teenager. Oh no, we'll never figure out what it says. It's written in backwards writing.
No, shh. Don't tell me. Your name, I know. Shot. Survive or be destroyed. There is no choice.
Psychic hotline auditions were last week. Try Sky. Creation. A Skittle. Mysteriously unaffected by centuries of digestive activity. You see, many people have Skittles all marked up from stomach pieces, so they decided.
That said, there was one joke during my play session that I actually found pretty funny.
Now, the currents of destiny are brewing storm clouds of darkest portent. Over your pride.
As for the gameplay itself, Dark and Sky is, like I said, a fantasy adventure game, having you explore and platform your way through various environments, interacting with the occasional NPC to get items and quests from, fighting off enemies with melee combat and magic, solving puzzles, so on and so forth. Problem is, though, I don't think it does it very well, and a fair amount of that comes down to the controls. Sky's movement, especially the jumping, feels incredibly stiff and often unresponsive, and her melee attacks often feel like it's a gamble on whether or not it even hits your target, not helped by how many hits enemies often take before they die. It makes playing feel really awkward basically at all times, especially in the second area. You're platforming across rocks over insta-kill water, all the while being swarmed by these giant worm enemies that, far as I'm aware, can only be killed after multiple blasts of magic, which you have to line up and aim. Not the easiest thing to do while being swarmed, while also trying not to fall into the water and die. And this is the kind of game that only gives you checkpoints at the start of an area. So if you die, you're being sent back to the start of the area with all your progress between the start and your death resetting. Now granted, the game does have a manual saving system that, when you load your file, will load you back to the exact point that you saved. Think of it like a save state. So you basically have to keep on top of saving manually constantly so that you don't lose much progress when you inevitably have to load up your file again. I have heard this is a less tedious process in the PC version, as there's dedicated keys for saving and loading, but in the GameCube version, you're forced to pause and make your way to the load save screen every time you want to utilize this, and it's tiresome. Also, this game's got some interesting sound design. Some demon enemies screech like falcons. These dragon-like creatures make leopard noises. And the flies... And the sound balancing is really bad, with many sound effects being way too loud, such as the screech of the worm enemies when you finally do kill them. And also this switch puzzle. Whenever you get the combination wrong, it goes to reset. This happens.
There is no way.
Now, admittedly, I didn't get super far in this game. Furthest I've ever gotten is the third area, the obligatory swamp area, which you can get to in a regular playthrough after about an hour of playing. But even just those first two areas feel tedious to get through and really not that fun. And last time I tried to get further on my own time, the swamp area just ended up frustrating me more, so I'm good to stop here. This game I more so included for the novelty of, yes, there is a fantasy adventure tie-in game for Skittles, because, well, that honestly just sounds like a Mad Lib. But it's real. Also not entirely sure why or how, but at one point after reloading my file, Sky's model glitched and locked up, so I was stuck running around like this. This is what tasting the rainbow does to a person. And all this is barely scratching the surface, frankly. There's still hundreds of obscure licensed games out there, maybe even thousands. But I don't want to be covering this topic for the rest of time, so I'll stop here and maybe do a follow-up video in the future. But yeah, licensed games truly are a fascinating part of the gaming landscape. And while they're not entirely non-existent nowadays, whether it be higher budget tie-in games like Spider-Man PS4 or Dragon Ball FighterZ, or lower budget shovelware like, well, a Mochi Kart Racer, the iron grip the licensed game had back in the day has definitely loosened, or at least in the way it used to be. Now we mostly just get licensed content and other IPs, which I suppose makes sense from a business standpoint, but I'll admit, part of me does kind of miss that era where someone would look at their based on a true story horse movie and think, yeah, this will make for great GBA game material. Though I'll think I'll get off the soapbox before I start going on a back in my day tangent. As I said at the start, thank you all for being so supportive and wonderful over these past few years. Don't know if this series of mine would have gotten to its 50th episode without that support. With that said, this has been Benjamage, and until next video, which hopefully won't take 3 months this time, have a nice day, everybody.
Mountain and marsh from top to bottom. The third to last line means... someone's slacking off right now. Huh? Wind on top with mountain underneath. Find the second to last line? More sugar intake needed. Time for some sweet tea.
Classic PS1 intro. It's just a fan project filled with love. They've even got this like glare in the top left, like CRT kind of effect. All right, forget options. Let's just go.
Oh yeah, pale blood. Well, you've come to the right place. Yharnam is the home of blood ministration. You need only unravel its mystery. But where's an outsider like yourself to begin? Easy, with a bit of Yharnam blood of your own. But first, you'll need a contract.
Thanks, man. Loaded too fast, immersion ruined. Oh my goodness. Name. Cordy. Mouth moving. So good.
I know you have 10,000 plus hours in Soulsborne, but how many hours did it take you to get good?
I'm still waiting to get good, Slod. Perhaps, soon. Hair type. We've got RGB sliders for the hair. Red seems good. Preview hat. Oh, cool. That works. Face type. I see. Yeah, the music's so good. Ativa Lock, 59 months, welcome back! Eyes got gouged. Robo GTO, thanks for the resub also. This is so cool. Milquetoast, Lone Survivor, we got all our stats. Waste of Skin. You are nothing, talentless. You shouldn't have been born. Savage. Wasted Skin it is. Name, QWERTY, origin, Wasted Skin. Start with his character. Let's do it.
Humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens.
Right,
and
and
I'm
child.
no exception.
Human creation.
The transfusion. Oh, don't you worry. Whatever happens, you may think it a mere bad dream.
Stand still.
The dialogue's a little quiet. Could use a little boosting.
Wind on top with mountain underneath. Find the second to last line. More sugar intake needed. Time for some sweet tea.
So accurate, jeez. This whole intro cutscene is bizarre as it is. Don't catch on fire. Don't catch on fire. Oh, darn it. Shouldn't have caught on fire, man. This would be game of the year if it came out in that time. Oh, yeah. Oh, gross. Oh. Oh, they're not as cute anymore. Jeez. That's awesome. Oh, man.
You found yourself a hunter.
Yeah, imagine this coming out on PS1. It'd be nuts! Developer Smiley, 25 months, welcome back. Press X to interact. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Oh, of course. Of course I used the D-pad to move. Why? Navigate. Okay, so how do I... Okay. I can press... Sorry, it's X on a PlayStation controller, so... I press X to center the camera. I've got R1. Oh. Oh. Right and left trigger rotates the camera. Oops. I've got R1 and then left hand for L1. We've got a back step. We got a roll. Press X to interact. Handwritten scroll, seek pale blood to transcend the hunt. This is how people should play Bloodborne for the first time. Maybe it will be because this is just a free thing on itch.io. No joysticks, that's right. Hello, Undead Dream. Let's see here. Hold on, can I... Oh, data. Quick items. Body attire. Head attire. Left weapon. No equip. Right weapon. Data. System. Let me see system real quick. Here we go. I want to bring down... The music can stay up. Sound effects I want to bring down, and then I want to boost everything else. Alright. There we go.
Stand still.
Look, cheats! Oh my gosh! Stats. Inventory. Consumables, I see. Hunter's mark. This would be a weapon list, but there's none in there. We've got the armor, black hood, foreign garb. Okay, let's go. Wonder how I lock on. Oh, probably the camera. Backstep. Okay. And then triangle heals in this game. Oh my gosh. Dapper Squid, welcome back. Ah, it's fog. I see. L2, R2, rotate camera. Oh boy, I'm gonna get wrecked. Wait, can I hold for a chart? course I can. Oh, I just knocked him down. Oh gosh. Oh, jeez. Hold on. It's the same attacks. Oh no. Oh no. Here we go. Get it. No. Dang it. Oh no. That's pretty accurate, to be honest. Pretty accurate. But died to tutorial just like normal. Hey, whoa. Branchy, 2 months, welcome back. Shout out to your brother James. What's up, Jimmy? Ooh. There's the wobble. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Run, dodge. Of course I can run. Use his stamina, of course. Oh, not yet, not yet. An abandoned doll. Oh, I love the zoom in. That's so like, oh man. It feels like Resident Evil. The messengers offer you a trick weapon. Choose one. Trick weapons are wielded with the right hand and employed in beast hunting. I gotta go my baby saw cleaver. Equip weapons. Start plus... Oh, I see, I see. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Ah, okay. It shows you the list. Oh? How do I gotta figure out how to do transform attack. There's a firearm, pistol, duh. Let's see, so I went the wrong way. Okay. How do I do a transform attack? Nah, there's gotta be a transform. Let's see. It's the kill button. Let's see. We'll keep looking for tutorials and see. What is this? Oh! 1 insight. Oh, I see. It's like locked by unknown force. It's in menu? The transform is? L1 does a left-handed attack. See? Oh, I don't have any bullets. Otherwise, it would have just shot. Oh, interesting. Time for a aim-only run. So there's only R1 and L1 for attacking. But I'm sure it's implemented somehow. Vials, bullets, Molotov, Pebble. A call beyond! No transform attacks confirmed. Oh, okay. Oh, shoot, it scrolls. Long ago, the Healing Church used phantasms and reached the lawsuit plane. Darkness failed to make contact with the outer reaches of the cosmos. 10,000 echoes. Okay. Man, this is making me want to play Kingsfield or something. Okay, there's no other side of the Hunter's Dream just yet. Wait a minute. 3 insight up there. Hold the phone. There's a balcony. See, this is intriguing because there's more stuff in here than it's more than just a direct port. Oh, you can jump. Oh, there you go. Oh, and you can change direction in midair right before the roll. Hold to aim, I figured that out. X while manually aiming, cancel aim. Nice. Oops. Hold charge attack, hold partial strong attack. So R1, hold partial strong attack, and then hold all the way charge attack. Hitting enemy from behind with a charge attack causes them to stagger. Some weapons don't have charge attacks. Shooting your firearm will interrupt the staggering enemy when properly timed to their attack. R1 when next to staggered enemy, visceral. To taking damage from an enemy, rally. Nice. Okay. Let's go get some insight. Shall we? Oh. Now loading. DJ, 40 months. Welcome back. Land Goblin, 5 months. No, this is PC. This is on PC. It's free. Go download it. Exclamation point game? Exclamation point run? Go get it and try it for yourself if you'd like to. Easy. Start, then up. Equip consumables. Triangle. Use consumable. Add blood vial to quick item slot. E. Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. Grats on beating werewolf. Thank you. So this game is the whole first area. So cleric, beast, and Gascoigne. Locked by first floor clinic key. But there's also differences, which is interesting. I guess they're forcing us to go talk to Yosefka, maybe? Or something? I don't know. Oh, maybe not. Doesn't open from the side. Maybe not. What key is right? Wait, did I even touch this lantern? Save. Checking memory card. Nice. QWERTY level 4. Awesome. Oh, is this a door? Oh, also locked by first floor clinic key. Huh. What memory card? The one that's allocated onto my hard drive. Whoa! What? Oh, well, I didn't want to shoot, but yeah. Hello. Use consumables, yeah. There's a dead guy who got eaten, yeah. Oh, there's a ladder. Oh, right. Can't wait for Elden Ring PSXD, mate. Walk. Oh. Oh, for a backstab, maybe. So I can sneak. Wait a minute. Can I destroy this? That's more than Blood... Okay, that's not true. Bloodborne wants to do that. There's an item over there. This is pretty much the beginning. I'll try this door. Otherwise, there might be another ladder. I like the look at the camera auto ducks down because you're looking over a ledge. Oh wait, this is a path. I'm dumb. Oh, they put the Dark Souls 1 Anor Londo rafters into Bloodborne. First floor clinic key. Start then up. Equip keys. Oh. Key ring. Oh. Key item. Okay. Press X to interact. Cycle quick key quick items. Select. That's what I was pressing before and nothing was happening. Yeah, there are a couple of doors that kind of interested where they lead now. Blood vial ×2. Let's see. Locked. The game does have jump. You can sprint, and then you can jump. We're speedrunning this stuff. Oh gosh. Small fall damage. Dr. Maxim and Naparinjusi. 36 months. Thank you, my friends. Let's see what's here. Wait, locked. Oh, right. Oh, I just have to have it active. Bullet transfuser. So this lets you do blood bullets? Interesting. So they give you an item to do that. Let me see if that's the case. Where's inventory. Here we go. Bullet transfuser, hunter's tool that trades health for bullets. A hunter can employ this tool during the hunt to transfuse their own blood into equipped firearms, where it solidifies into blood bullets, the product of a hunter's fearless resolve. So they did that because I guess they don't have enough buttons to make it all work on a PlayStation 1 controller. Dante Gray, 33 months. Welcome back. You've been following the DMake a long time. Me too. It's finally here. This is awesome. More blood vials. Let's see here. Wasn't there another door upstairs? It was locked. The other door said locked. Oh wait, no, wait. Are you talking about the one with Yosefka, actually? It's not the full game, no, but another one near the ladder. Oh! Yeah, I think you're right. I'll double check. Whoa. Oh! Really? Somebody relocked it. There's no sprinting up ladders. No, it just says locked. Yeah, so it's not locked by Yosefka's key. Can I slide?
Time to say bye.
No. Insert disc 2. Let me just double check Yosefka's door over here. No, does not open from this side. Okay, we've checked all the doors here, I believe. Outside we go. I'm just gonna leave the key on there for now. I definitely won't accidentally just go to heal and not have a heal selected. Ha ha ha. Yeah, you can glitch into Gwen's tomb in Gwendolyn's area. You just do a jump against the statue like this, and as you're falling and rolling, you save and quit, and then you load back in, and you're inside of the rumpled hat. Okay, so this is definitely different. Let's see.
Time to say bye.
So this is not like, there's absolutely similar stuff, but it's not structured entirely the same. I like that though. Let's see. Oh, I missed an item. Central Yarn. Okay, I know where that is then. All right, interesting. You want to see the hat? I'm sorry. Sorry. There's a lot of there's a lot of exciting things. Rumpled hat. Nice. Swag. Swag. Super swag. Okay. Dude, this DMake is insanely fire. Okay, let me go back and get the item that you said I missed. It's so funny how there's like these little rooms are, you know, separated by loading screens. Oh yeah, this side. Ah yes, of course. I knew those existed. Why didn't I go get those? L1 attack, left-hand weapon, firearms use quicksilver bullets. And this door, that's the normal path into Yosefka's clinic. So controls are fitted to a PlayStation 1 scheme, even though I'm using an Xbox controller. So I use the D-pad to move around. The download is down? Oh no, too many people downloading it. I'm sure it'll resolve quickly. But that's awesome.
I expected
Broke the server. Holy snap. It's not a big download at least, so hopefully people get it quickly and then frees up some bandwidth. Dr. Maxim, 5 gifted subs.
You play green and rat! Away! Away!
Nice. I couldn't interact with the options menu when I was out of the game, but if you get in the game, then you can. So, like, I couldn't change the volume of stuff until I got here, and then I went to... There's a system. Oh, here you go. Data system. So if you want to change volume or anything like that, you can do it in-game. That worked for me. It crashed when I tried to do options here. Oh. Nice. Let's see. Molotovs over here should be. I'm not sure I can sprint while locked on. Oh, ew! He looks like a freaking crazy clown. Okay, I'm gonna try and parry. You ready? Oh shit! Don't mess up my brains. Oh. No. Well, he's dead. I didn't seem to land a parry once. As for now, where the game stopped. This includes the whole first area, including Cleric Beast and Gascoigne. And there's bonus stuff, too. But I don't know what those extents mean. Here we go, let's see. Wait for it. What a thrill. Nice. Bloodborne card. I feel like Bloodborne card. Oh my god. Oh, Gilbert. Gilbert. This lamp now transports you back to the hunter's dream. Upon death, you will awaken at this lamp. We don't have any insight yet. I'll save. Noja. 12 months. Welcome back. Thank you very much. Oopsies. No, no, no. Gilbert.
Oh, you must be a hunter. And not one from around here either. I'm Gilbert, a fellow outsider. You must have had a fine time of it. Yharnam has a special way of treating guests.
Yeah, checking memory card.
Well, I don't think I could stand if I wanted to, but I'm willing to help if there's anything that can be done.
Interesting. Oh, no voice line. Whatever your reasons might be, you should plan with a swift exit. Whatever can be gained from this place will do more harm than good. Stop coughing. Huh. Does not open from this sign. No, it's not the full game, but it's wonderful, is what it is. Okay, so they have like their first dialogue lines voiced and then the rest not. That sounds that fits with PlayStation 1 games, I feel like. Elden Ring preview, yes, for sure. So many loads. My gosh. Yeah, if this came out on PlayStation 1, it would be like, what the? I want to get a backstab. Well, it just killed him instead. They turn around very quickly, so it can be... Oh, geez.
You are not wanted here!
125, I think it was my damage, right? Oh, one of these dudes. Huntsman. Oh, yeah, I know where that is. Oh, wait. Got obliterated. All right, nice. Backstab acquired. I'm gonna go this way. Oh my goodness! This is different. Oh shit! Ow! The poise. He's got poise. Stamina. Heal. No! Ow!
I'll mess up your brain!
Yeah, you will. Oh gosh. Alright. What? They're aggroing from everywhere, man. Yeah, there's Rally. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, can you imagine back in the day playing this as a kid or something? This would be creepy as hell. Nightmare Creatures vibes? Nice. This is, this is where the big guy is? No? Nice. Beautiful. Where is this? It's a skull icon? Collectible. This is new. I mean, unless I'm just not recognizing it. Oops. Definitely. Wow, shit! Oh, maybe this goes back to the beginning. Locked. Wait a minute. Is this... No? It's even got the same, like, collision, like these coffins that can't be rolled through versus all the other breakables. Oops. Also locked. What? What did you say? Right, I can walk. Hold up.
I expected
How do I...
as much
I want to...
Like you, stranger.
I want to walk onto the other one. There we go.
Stand still.
He's over there like, oh shit. Nice. Fabian gifted a sub to JJ Mac. Enjoy that sub. Quicksilver bullet. Here's that skull. Uh-oh. Oh, of course. Insight gained. Interesting. So now we could go meet Gehrman and wake up the doll. Let's see here. Ooh. Doll activate. Probably, anyways. Does this shortcut us back? Back to the beginning? I don't think so. Wait, what is this? Oh, this shortcut is back around. Did I miss any locations, though? Oh, there's that ladder. Oh, I didn't go this way? Or is that that's the way I went? There is a blood level 4 run. Well, I mean, there's a blood level 4 character. Oh, I couldn't go this way, could I? Okay. Nice, but how do we go around to that ladder? I'm gonna hug left wall, maybe. Can't wait for speedruns of this, huh? Oh wait, yeah, this looks right. I gotta destroy all the things. I'm sorry. This is...
Stand still.
Even if it was regular Bloodborne, first playthrough, I still gotta do that. This is the time curse. Hello.
There is no other choice.
Now, is there a running attack? Okay, I don't think there's a running attack. Oh my goodness.
Time to say bye.
Sir? No. Move, move, move. Okay, nice. Also locks.
Stand still. Time to say bye. Boom.
These are devils. I'll crush them all.
Survive or be destroyed. There is no other choice.
This needs to be investigated by the government. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, this is actual fraud. Over $1 million of fraud. Like, this is a guy, so, like, he had a charity. He didn't give the money from the charity, and they're sitting on, like, $600,000. Like, what is this?
Hello, you absolute legends. Just over 2 weeks ago, I released a video covering the Open Hand Foundation, the charity organization that was created by the YouTuber The Completionist and his family. I outlined how in 10 years of operation, the Open Hand Foundation has not contributed a single dollar of the money that it has received from the public.
It's just sitting on it.
Despite the fact The Completionist, named Gerard Khalil, has been saying for many years it had been supporting various charities.
And so, we just every year we try to raise as much money as possible, and then we go work with, you know, Alzheimer's Association of America, University of San Francisco, Association for FTD, which is what my mom had, FTD. So we've like worked with big and small organizations across the board.
According to the tax filings, the Open Hand Foundation was sitting on over $650,000 worth of donations it had received. And when me and Mutahar spoke with Gerard, he assured us they still had all of the money and were ready to donate it. However, since that time...
I wish I could talk to this guy, because I bet they probably weren't harsh enough about it. I hate it whenever people have conversations and they let people get out of it. I bet Mutahar would probably be pretty harsh, though. Yeah, it's like, what do you mean? Like, really, what is the actual justification of this? And if the money is in the account, open up the account right now, take a picture of it on your phone, next to the date, block out the other stuff, and let me see the fucking balance right now. Because you know he's got the information to log into the account. He's one of the owners of the company. Take a picture of it right now. That's what I think.
Nothing has happened. Gerard and the Open Hand Foundation have been radio silent since my video dropped. We have had no confirmation the money still exists, no confirmation it has been donated, and it more or less seems like they are burying their head in the sand and ignoring the situation, hoping...
Which, by the way, I understand that this is like a complex situation for them, but the fact that they can't at least address this at all is ridiculous.
It blows
crazy.
over. The silence is deafening, but I think there is a very good reason why they are hiding. There is more to this story than meets the eye, and the situation is much worse than we had previously let on.
Okay,
in my previous video, I spoke about Indieland, the charity marathon hosted by The Completionist. But Indieland isn't the only charity event that Open Hand runs. In fact, it's only half of the story. Open Hand also holds a charity golf tournament, which pulls in tens of thousands of dollars in sponsorships every year.
Yeah, I mean, those are some pretty big sponsors, man.
The interesting thing about the money the golf tournament raises is that it seems to disappear. Fans of the completionist who rushed out to defend him try to claim that because Gerard hadn't spent the money, it wasn't stolen. But in my opinion, this is misguided. Not only because this argument is nonsensical, I mean, if I steal $100 from you and don't spend it, I've still stolen it. It's money you no longer have, and I obtained that money through illegal means. But
he's right about that. And I think that obviously I was one of the people, I do believe that spending it is worse, but not spending it is still bad. I guess like my perspective with this was always that, yes, it is bad that he just like took the money, but at least it can be recovered. At least it's like, at least if we can just get him to fucking just donate the money, you know, we can move on. At least it still has a positive. There is a positive ending that can happen for the people that are the beneficiaries of the money. Rather than if he spent the money, well, it's like, oh, well, fuck you, dude. And that's it. Yeah, I think it's a silver lining perspective. But you don't need to have silver lining around a bright sunny day.
But aside from that, I do believe the Khalil family have been stealing tens of thousands of dollars each year from charity donations on top of the fraud committed through Indieland.
Why do you think
and
that?
in this video, I'm going to show you how.
Okay.
In my previous video, I
go.
didn't include a sponsor because this is a serious situation.
Right.
And that was a hefty sacrifice given that I am the sole breadwinner of my family. So it's not just my money I sacrificed, it's theirs as well. And I can't keep working on this without being sponsored, so I hope you guys don't mind. Now, Legends, this video is sponsored by the military online game War Thunder.
Yeah, it
and
is.
when it comes to vehicle combat games, War Thunder is the most comprehensive ever made. Play more than 2,000 unique vehicles, including tanks, planes, helicopters,
I
and
was thinking about
ships in
playing
heart-racing PvP battles.
After, like, all
and
that
each of
drama
these
with the
vehicles is
game.
finely crafted to be as realistic as possible, resulting in a highly immersive combat experience. Whether you like the fast-paced action of air combat or the more tactical nature of ground combat, War Thunder offers intense player-v-player battles that caters to any style. Plus, it offers one of the most dynamic and detailed vehicle damage models in gaming.
God damn.
Personally, I just like how realistic everything looks and sounds. The combat experience is definitely
Can you
intense.
be like an armored
War
core?
Thunder is free to play
Like a
using
mech
my
warrior?
link in the description, and is available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And for new players or those who haven't played in 6 months, there is a large free bonus pack waiting for you, which includes multiple premium vehicles, a premium account, an exclusive 3D decorator for your vehicles, and much more. This is only available for a limited time, so be quick. The Indieland Charity Marathon, hosted by the Completionist, began in 2018. But since 2003, the Khalil family has been hosting a yearly golf tournament called the PBD West Convenience Cup Challenge. PBD West is a business founded by Gerard's father, Charles Khalil, in 1992.
Oh,
now,
wow.
despite the Open Hand Foundation
been a
website
while.
saying it has been fundraising since 2003, there is no record of the Open Hand Foundation existing before 2014, when it was...
Since 2000, wait, what? Since 2003, we've led fundraising efforts to find a cure for frontotemporal dementia. That's why even say that?
14,
I don't understand.
when it was registered as a non-profit. If you look at photos from the golf tournament before this
Yeah.
time, there is no mention of Open Hand. In contrast to 2015 onwards, where signage clearly states it's benefiting the Open Hand Foundation, earlier years simply showed...
Well, I mean, to be fair, okay, to be fair to them, they could have been supporting it through charity without using it as a foundation. They could have been supporting it on a personal level or through like direct crowdfunding at that time. So I don't think that like this is necessarily something that's untrue, but it also doesn't make a lot of sense either. And also, like, here's the other thing. Are we really gonna give this guy the benefit of the doubt at this point? I doubt it. Yeah, that's a doubt, right? So it's like, yeah, definitely there could be a justification, but there could also be another, you know.
that it was benefiting frontotemporal dementia. I assume they meant to say they were benefiting dementia research and not dementia itself, as that is quite a strange thing to say. No one can possibly know where that money went from these golf tournaments before 2014.
Sure.
So at this time there is no point in speculating. But from 2015, we know the money was supposed to be going to the Open Hand Foundation. And
Well, I think that you can logically assume that if after they made the foundation, they weren't donating the money, that before they made the foundation, they also weren't donating the money. It's illogical to assume that they stopped donating money as soon as they made the foundation. You see what I'm saying? Probably. And like, this is just an assumption, but I think it's a pretty good fucking assumption.
Their tax filings, so from here on out, we can begin to draw some solid conclusions. The main way the PBD West Convenience Cup Challenge appears to raise money is via sponsorships.
Right.
Brands will pay the Open Hand Foundation to appear on banners and signs throughout the golf course, along with having the opportunity to set up tents and stands and have their employees play in the tournament.
That's nice.
It seems to be mainly used as a networking or social event.
Yeah.
On its website, the PBD West Cup even tells us what these sponsorships cost, showing that different tiers give different benefits. Before
Yeah, there's a lot of, I know people might see these numbers and be like really surprised, but the truth is that there are a lot of these benefit dinners and things like this that happen. A lot of companies and organizations do things like this in order to, it's mainly a networking event. And also it's something that, like, a lot of these times, like, people are going into this place and they buy it as a company, so it's written off their taxes in one way or another. Yeah, it's a tax write-off. Yeah, it's a charity tax write-off. So, like, this is like kind of a whole like system. It's a whole thing. I'm saying the numbers are reasonable for this type of event.
Before 2018, this golf cup was the only event raising money for the Open Hand Foundation.
Right.
So the tax filings should give us a pretty good idea about how much money it brings in. From 2014 to 2017, filings showed the Open Hand Foundation received between $30,000 to $60,000 per event.
Sure, yeah,
this is likely underreported, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's just assume this is accurate. From these years, we can get a pretty good approximation of what this cup normally raises.
I don't know if it's likely underreported, and I'm not sure if I believe that right off the bat, because there's also usually things that are underreported happen whenever you're able to crowdfund from a large group of different people, and that allows you to effectively just kind of like filter out some money, because it's hard to reverse engineer where the money came from. But in an event like this, where you get large amounts of money from other reputable companies that will have accounting for it, it makes me less likely to believe that it was underreported, especially whenever you're talking about like large $5,000 sums, things like that. You see kind of what I'm saying? So like, I'm not sure if I believe that it's being underreported, but that's just simply because of like the type of, like, how are you going to underreport something that Coca-Cola gives you, right? Like, they could do it. Now, they could absolutely fucking do it. But it's like such a stupid move that even now, I can't believe that somebody would do that without proof.
In 2018, Indieland began, and for its first year, it raised $55,000, at least according to Gerard. This money was also supposed to go to the Open Hand Foundation, so naturally we should see an increase in yearly revenue, which we do. In 2018, Open Hand had a yearly revenue of $113,000. If we assume that $55,000 came from Indieland, that leaves $58,000 from the PBD West Cup, which is in line with previous years. However, something strange happens in 2019. In 2019, Indieland raised $109,000, double the previous year.
That's a lot.
In theory, this should cause a drastic rise in the yearly revenue for the Open Hand Foundation. But mysteriously, revenue hardly raises at all. In the 2019 filing, Open Hand only raised $123,000, which means that somehow the Golf Cup now only raised $14,000. What's also interesting about 2019 is that it's the last year that Indieland, or the Completionist, publicly stated what Indieland had raised in total. From this point on, they make no mention of this, which is strange. You would think a charity event would state how much they raised after it had finished, and they did proudly do this for the first 2 years. But then, as soon as the tax filings became weird, we started hearing nothing. We can do...
It's like, here's the thing. I actually don't think that this point is